It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
That's caught! Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Richie right to the rim, driving score! He would not be denied!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Sponsored by Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Kyle Ireland. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Hour number 3 is off and running here on the legacy home of the Cougars. Mitch Harper and Kyle Ireland with you. We've been getting some text, and we wanted to ask this question. We've been asking it throughout the day. What are you doing on this BYU football bye weekend? Some of the texts rolling in here. Texter 3903 writes simply, "Go Pokes." I kind of expected that. I think a lot of Cougar fans are probably feeling that way. They're cheering for Wyoming. Now, you wonder, too, the old rivalry between BYU and Wyoming. I don't think Cougar fans have ever felt there's a rivalry with Wyoming. Wyoming fans were the ones that felt the hatred towards BYU. BYU was always like, well, Wyoming's throwing in our side. We got to go play them in late November. But really, we don't view them in the hierarchy of our rivals. So I think Cougar fans are okay to cheer for Wyoming. Texter 0000. That's crazy. That last 4 numbers. I'm going boating. Awesome. I'm jealous. Wish I had a boat.
Water might be a little cold this time of year. It's not the water. It's the air when you get out of the water.
Texter 9790 says, I'm one of the few Cougar fans who root for Utah unless they are playing BYU. October 18th, fight of the undefeated team sounds great. I'm watching my 6'6", 14-year-old grandson play for Lehigh football today as well.
Go Pioneers.
Pioneers.
I'm an alum.
And that man is also saying,
but I don't know.
He's saying go Pioneers. He's also saying go Utes, I guess.
I don't appreciate the former part of that text.
Texters,
explain that to me. Tweet at me. Let me know why. Text back in. Let us know why you actually are rooting for the rival. That doesn't make sense to me, Mitch. Like,
do you think there are more Cougar fans like that?
No, I don't. I think it is a small minority.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's 90-10 at best.
How do you feel? This is a funny question for you, Kyle. It's off the cuff here a little bit, responding to these texts. How do you feel when, because if you're like me, I think you probably naturally have these conversations where you're talking ball, talking BYU, just talking football, talking basketball with people. And then when you start to get to know someone for the first time and you're like, hey, so who's your team? I like both. How do you feel about that? When people say, I like both BYU and Utah, isn't that worse than saying I like the Utes? To me, that's worse. Saying I like both.
I can't even compute that, Mitch, because I am also a Michigan Wolverine fan, for instance. If you were to have somebody come up to me and be like, "Oh, do you like Michigan?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I like them, but I also like Ohio State."
Right.
People would be like, "What?" That doesn't make sense. "Oh yeah, I like Alabama and Auburn." What?
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And this is one of the best rivalries in all of college sports. And so, if you want to hold it in the same esteem as some of these other ones, you got to be one side or the other, and you got to be all in.
Is it a case though? I've always wondered this. Is the state of Utah, which has always had a little bit of a chip on the shoulder, underdog mentality, is that what creates that? Because I think we take pride in our state. The state of Utah, I love living in Utah. I love this state. I love being here. I'm very proud to be a Utah. I think that a lot of people feel that same way, so I think they just want the good of the state to show up, but it's like, you can't do that with the rivalry the way that it is. Whereas Michigan, Ohio State, it's different states. It's kind of different lifestyles.
All right, Mississippi State.
I just
there are a number of examples. You cannot vote for root for the rival.
I just think that's where
BYU fans looking at Weber State and SUU and Utah Tech and USU and being I hope all these teams win.
I do. I just think there's something in this state that's maybe different than other college fan bases in states where there's just a lot of pride. And I think sometimes people will turn to the whole, I want to see both BYU and Utah win. It's like, no, you can't do that.
I just wonder how many Utah fans would feel that way, and they're like, oh, man, BYU basketball, they've got a talented roster this year. I hope they make a Final Four run. Like, that's not happening. Like, why does it happen the other way?
Texter 0129 writes, I'm hoping on this Saturday that a lot of top 25 teams lose. Interesting thought. Is that what it takes for BYU to get into the top 25? Just a bye week?
BYU gets in on a bye.
They get in on the bye week. It didn't matter that you scored 69 on week 1 with a true freshman quarterback. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that you hammered a Power 4 team by 24. That doesn't matter. Hey, you're off this week? Let's rank you. Texter 8014, hate watching Utah as part of my weekly task. Keep texting us 57500.
I respect it. I respect
What are you
the
doing
honesty.
on this BYU football bye week? We're obviously watching college football. We got West Virginia and Pitt, the backyard brawl on the television here in studio. But we're also talking some Cougar hoops, Kyle, and BYU basketball. We're about 5 weeks away until the Cougars tip off the season with an exhibition game against Nebraska, October 18th in Lincoln. How you feeling about this Cougar Hoops team that's going to have as big of a preseason hype season as you will ever see for Cougar basketball?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be one where fans are locked in from the jump, so to speak. And I would say that, obviously there's a lot of hype with AJ coming into town. It's been nice to see him at the football games as well. Like
that was cool.
People are excited, and AJ seems to embrace the BYU experience thus far. But I think this roster is super talented around him as well. You've obviously got the Tot King coming back, Richie Saunders.
He's so good.
But Rob Wright is really the guy that I think is going to change the trajectory of this BYU program this year. AJ is going to be awesome, but AJ is going to be AJ, right? Like the team around.
What does that look like to you? What does AJ being AJ look like to you? Is that Big 12 Player of the Year good?
I think that he's definitely, like, that should be the expectation from BYU fans. Going into this season, Mitch, this team needs to reach the Elite Eight at a minimum, or else BYU fans are going to be disappointed.
Agreed.
They need to have him play like Big 12 Player of the Year for BYU fans to not be disappointed in this campaign.
It needs to be a Cooper Flag-like impact. And the nice thing like Cooper Flag had, he had NBA players around him, and they lifted each other up to a Final Four appearance, and they ran into a difficult force in Houston. But similar circumstances. I think AJ's got two guys that are NBA players around him. Maybe you need one more. I think Duke had, 4 guys that were on that team last year that got drafted this past summer, but AJ's got a lot of talent around him. And I think that, I look at what Kevin Durant told AJ Dybantsa last spring. You better go in and expect to be the Big 12 Player of the Year. That's what the great freshmen in that league have done. Blake Griffin, Kevin Durant back in the day. If you're the number one guy, that should be your expectation. And I think Cougar fans should expect that too. I think what's exciting is that, to your point, Rob Wright is going to be elite. That guy's ability to get into the paint and finish at the rim. Jimmer was incredible as a point guard. Could shoot it all over the parking lot. Getting into the gym, he's knocking it down. And he could finish at the rim too. He had an amazing ability to get to the foul line and then knock him down. But Rob Wright's physicality and ability, even at his size, in the paint, is elite. And then Richie, I think he's going to have so many open looks this year. Just pick your poison, man. You want to stop AJ? You want to stop Rob Wright? Okay. Richie Saunders is wide open, man. And then you still got guys like Tyler Moross, probably going to come off the bench. Kennard Moo Davis, who this coaching staff I think is really excited about with Kennard Davis and what he can bring, not only offensively, because this is a high-powered offensive attack, but defensively too. Moo Davis is going to be impactful for this team. I'm intrigued by a freshman and Dominique Diomande, the transfer from Washington. I think he is fascinating. He could be something really good for BYU. And then Hadim Mbop, maybe like a Kenneth Fareed type of player from back in the day. They've got so many different pieces on this roster. It is by far, Kyle. I've been watching BYU basketball for 30 years. This is hands down by a mile the most talented roster I've ever seen assembled. This is only year 2 for Kevin Young.
It's crazy, the turnover from last season as well. This is really, I mean, aside from a couple of guys, you've obviously got Bacata, Richie Saunders, like as some like, starter level pieces that are returning, but you lost Yegor, you lost Trevin Nell, you lost Trey Stewart, you lost some valuable veteran pieces from a season ago, but the talent increase on this roster is night and day better.
These are NBA bodies. I mean, just the size, the height, the athleticism. And I think the challenge for this group is just going to be how it all comes together. How does that locker room, I don't want to say the locker room is going to be difficult to manage it, but just, again, when adversity hits, how do they handle it? Does the leadership of Richie and AJ, they've got to be the leaders. AJ, that's a lot expected of him, but big paydays, big expectations, got to be a leader.
Endorsements that you're worrying about on the outside.
Yeah, I think AJ does a great job of that. He's got his financial team.
But there's just a lot around AJ.
No question. And I think people wanted to pick at him last year for his time at Utah Prep that Utah Prep didn't win. They said, well, is it because of AJ? That whole group, I think there was a little bit of immaturity on that team, and I think AJ was just ready to be done and just like, let's get on to college. Let's get on to the next phase where everyone's acting like pros. That's the thing about this BYU basketball program. It's a bunch of people that are treating it like pros. These are pro bodies, and that still got the college element, but the size, the athleticism, this is a really good team. And then we forget, too, but Bacata, how explosive he is at the 5 spot. And I would imagine he's probably going to have some new wrinkles in his game that probably impress everyone and go, man, he's evolved from last year to this year, too. And he's still working closely with Chris Burgess, and I just like the makeup of this roster. And then Xavier Staten, a 4-star, top 45 recruit, 7-footer, comes into the program. In any other year, that guy is just, we're talking about him nonstop. And he's going to probably come off the bench. And he will come off the bench. But he'll give an impactful, minutes. And then you got a guy like Alexei Kostic, who kind of like a little bit of a flyer. Like, I don't really know what to expect out of him, but an intriguing prospect that can be maybe developmental a little bit. So, and then you got Mihailo Boskovic, who comes back from last season. So many players on this team that are just kind of intriguing. And to see how Kevin Young brings it all together, I would like to think, though, Kyle, that probably this year it's not going to be a case of they're going 11 deep in the rotation. I think this rotation gets tightened a little bit, even though you probably could go 11 deep. But I feel like for this team to get to the heights they want to reach, which Final Four national title is what they're chasing, I think you got to have that established 8-man rotation where night after night, these are your top dogs you're rolling with every single night.
Yeah, and this roster, I think, has the ability to you can tighten it down this season more than you could in years past. But I will say one last point for me on BYU's basketball season coming up. I'm really excited for this non-conference schedule, Mitch.
Agreed.
This slate of games, I mean, you open the season with Villanova, like that in and of itself is awesome, but you've got UConn, Wisconsin, Miami, Clemson, that Arizona game we were talking about. I am excited to see the caliber, obviously Arizona conference game, but I do think that this slate of games, this is what BYU basketball fans have always wanted. They've wanted a talented roster like this. I don't even think that this was an expectation that was in anybody's dreams of something that was fathomable. But having this caliber of a roster, having the number one recruit like AJ come in, and then to be able to have these blue blood programs that BYU is going to be playing this season, there's not much more that you can ask for as a BYU fan.
And think about, too, when you bring up the blue bloods, I think of UConn, November 15th in the TD Garden in Boston. In years past, if you got that matchup, BYU's never played UConn in the regular season in basketball. But if you got that matchup in the past, you say, just show up well. Just play well. Don't make yourself look bad. Now you look at that matchup, and UConn's going to be a bear. I mean, they're going to be very tough out, and it's probably going to be a pro UConn crowd. They load up in Boston. I think it was 2 years ago on their second title run. They had a regional in Boston, and they filled that place up. I think Iowa State lost to them in the Sweet 16. They got just crushed. UConn will fill it up. It might be a pro UConn crowd instead of the pro Dybantsa crowd for his homecoming. But you look at that matchup and think BYU's not going to get outclassed. Like, they go into any matchup in college basketball. Doesn't matter who it is. They're not going to get outclassed. Maybe the only team that could still maybe outclass BYU potentially is Houston, just because of what Houston's done to BYU last year. 2 years. But still, BYU is a much different team this season. Houston is a much different team, too. They got some key pieces from that group that reached the national title game last year. Uzan, Emmanuel Sharp comes back. But you lose Jawan Roberts. You lose some of the vets on that Houston team. A lot more youth movement for Houston than years past. Again, there's not a game in college basketball, an opponent that just says BYU shows up and faces them, and BYU is just getting outclassed from a personnel, from a resources, from a staff standpoint. They are on par with anyone, and I've never said that about a BYU basketball team going into any season, and that's what makes this year the most anticipated season in BYU basketball history, and you can listen to all the action, of course, on KSL News Radio. The first game of the regular season will be November 3rd against Villanova down in Las Vegas. Cannot wait for that one. I'll be down there for that game, and that's just going to be a blast to see Cougars in action against a Big East team to open up the season that's going to be highly anticipated this year. Let's take a break. We'll check in on some college football and read some more of your text here on Cougar Sports Saturday.